Hello community, I hope this video finds you well. For this week's video, I'd like to talk a little bit about self-sabotaging and self-destructive actions. So the root cause of self-sabotage is usually self-esteem, low self-worth. And this is, if we only would think about our low self-esteem, it would really only affect our moods. But that low self-esteem or the thoughts on low self-worth affect our actions. And those actions turn into destructive, self-sabotaging actions. And, everyone does this. I haven't met one client yet, including myself, that has not done some form of action or non-action, right? Not going into action around manifestation and transformation. And there's a question that is very easy to ask ourselves when we watch ourselves do self-destructive actions and self-sabotaging actions. And that simple question is, what do I feel I deserve? Another way of asking it is, how good can I really stand it? How high will I let myself rise up? These are tough questions. And oftentimes we find ourselves blaming, whether we blame the weather or our spouse or the economy or the government or our mother, our father. We often blame something or someone for why we feel we can't rise any higher, or why we feel like that we don't deserve. And when there's blame, that means that there's anger, right? Because blame is the emotional block for anger. And anger is normal, right? Normal when we feel that our boundaries have been crossed, or maybe we don't recognize that our boundaries have been crossed. All we know is that we hear ourselves blaming, whether internal dialogue is around blame or external dialogue. We hear ourselves in conversation, often blaming something or someone else for why we cannot rise any higher or why we feel like we can't get to the next level. So it's something to watch out for in the internal and the external dialoguing, because if there are blaming words, that means that there's anger somewhere. And anger is not bad. Anger is completely normal, and it's probably very normal that why you feel anger. And that just means that it's been unexpressed and unrecognized, and it's still there to uncover. And I really need to sit with myself and allow myself to validate why it's so normal and natural that I feel that anger. And we let it rise up like we do with all the rest of the uncomfortable emotions. And when that anger rises up and we let it expand, because there's no shame around anger. Often some of us were taught that there was shame around anger. But most of the time we don't like to feel anger because it's very overwhelming. And it can feel very dangerous. Or we feel, what's the use anyway? But remember, feelings are for ourselves, with ourselves, by ourselves. I have to give myself permission to feel the uncomfortable emotions that are naturally and normally there. That doesn't mean you go yell at somebody. That doesn't mean that you take it out or project it onto somebody. It means that we sit with ourselves and we offer compassion and a softness to let these normal human emotions rise up, and we relax into them. We relax into our anger because it's normal. It's not a bad thing to recognize and allow ourselves to feel that anger. Because as the anger dissipates and I fully admit to myself that I have anger and I let myself feel it, my nervous system can relax into that. Normally, we feel anger and then we brace against it because there's some level of shame or overwhelm around that emotion. But if we don't allow ourselves to really feel that anger, if we hear ourselves blaming, we will continue with the self-sabotaging, self-destructive actions. Because self-destructive actions are violent. It may sound extreme, but there's a violence, an inward violence toward myself because I'm punishing myself. It's very subtle. It doesn't have to be so obvious. But self-destructive behavior is turning violence onto ourself. And we deserve better than that. So it's our responsibility to own our self-destructive, self-sabotaging thoughts and actions. Know that they are part of the human condition. And they're not right, they're not wrong. They just are. They're there. And we embrace them. And we integrate with them. And they will lose their power over us. No matter what your internal scorecard is, you are a child of the divine. We are all children of the divine. And we all have actions in our past that maybe we're not so proud of. And we have actions and thoughts in our past that maybe we're not so mature. But wipe that internal scorecard clean, learn from them, and we choose to do better. And in every moment, in every day, we have choice. And that choice is freedom. And every moment of every day, we can choose. And that's extremely powerful. As we all know, that is the power of awareness. That's what awareness brings us. Awareness brings us choice, and choice brings us freedom. So I hope this was helpful. I'd love to hear your feedback. As always, wishing you a beautiful week. Namaste.